Hello, people. It is time for another story time, and this one is about me climbing, or more like walking up Africa's highest mountain, Kilimanjaro. You should see my setup. I should show you because I have stuff everywhere. Look at this. So, this is my story time setup. I've got my chair, my books, my cup, and I'm just basically sitting, and I'm cold, so I have a blanket. I'm just sitting on the kitchen floor. And I have so many stuff from the, what do you call it? The company that I traveled with. I'm going to show you later. But this is my story time chaos. So I'm going to switch you around and continue this. I traveled with a Swedish company called Expeditionsresor. And they were amazing. First of all, you get all this material. I have a gear list, like what I should have, what I should wear, tips and tricks on how to pack your stuff, what kind of batteries, medicines, clothes, baggage, all that stuff. Another one with facts about your travel. You got a whole itinerary. The thing I like the best about this company is you get a whole lot of notes, and they're all handwritten. So this one basically says, "Hi Malin, I'm so glad that you're going to come with us to Tanzania. Really looking forward to bringing you on this adventure." Like, just knowing that they put the effort in writing you a personal note, that makes a whole lot of difference. You get this picture book with pictures from your trip. That's me. And it's like, and they write about every day. And it's just so cool. And you get a diploma. I climbed it. And I did this in February, March. And my birthday is in October. And another handwritten note telling me happy birthday. So, I mean, they definitely make you feel welcome. So I can highly recommend Expeditionsresor. This is kind of disturbing. Well, you shouldn't complain about the sun. Well, I've done a lot of blabbing and not even started talking about the actual trip. I will get right on it. The good thing about this story time is that I actually have a schedule. Or schedule. See, this is a word that I'm confused about because I want to pronounce it schedule, but people are saying schedule. So, my schedule. Well, actually, no. Let's start about why did I want to do this. I think from the moment I started traveling alone, and all the traveling I've done alone is a part of story times. So you've all seen my alone travel adventures, and they kind of progressed. My last one was the PCT. I just think that once you start doing things for yourself and you realize that you can actually do it, it kind of becomes like not like a drug, but you just realize that there's no actual limit as to what you can do. Well, there is, but if you want to do something, you just do it. So I think it just naturally became. Also, I'm kind of addicted to whatever kind of documentaries there are about climbing mountains. I've probably seen everyone about Mount Everest. I mean, if I could, I would. Happy to accept donations. The closer I got to actually departure, I really started to doubt myself. Like, not, I knew that if I really tried, I would do my damn best to get to the top. It was just, I think it's just this knowing that this is the highest peak in Africa and I'm gonna climb it. Like, what? And I think that might scare people off, just the word highest. But it's actually not, well, it is high, but it's not hard. It's not a hard thing. It is a hard thing, but it's not an impossible thing to do. I was about to fly from Stockholm. I went to the airport with my big bag, and I met this on my way to the check-in counter. I met this really cute guy, and he smiled at me, and I was like, I went to check in my bag, went through the security, and then I went to my gate to meet my crew, the guys I was going with. And I saw this guy again, and I realized that, ooh, he's my guide. So, that helped. So we were all Swedes, young and old, fit, unfit. It was a big mix of people, and turned out to be a really, really awesome group. But we jumped on the plane down to Tanzania. We landed in the afternoon, and they drove us to our hotel. And I shared my room with another girl. She was a couple of years younger than me, and she was traveling with her whole family. But they placed us in the same rooms as the people that we were going to share our tents with. So I was going to share my tent with her, and we really clicked. I really liked her. So the first night we just had dinner, just trying to let it all sink in that in a couple of days we're going to start hiking Kilimanjaro. But we lived at this really awesome hotel out in the middle of nowhere, it felt like. And it was like a jungle around us, and we had monkeys coming in, like into the yard of the hotel, and all these sounds. Because one of the best things about traveling somewhere like far from home is all the sounds. You have all the birds and all the bugs and the monkeys, and everything is just new and exciting. And on the next day, we were going to go on a little prepare hike to a big waterfall, because everything was planned out. So every day we tried to go to hike somewhere higher in elevation that we were going to sleep on. And this waterfall was higher than where our hotel was. And we got to try out our gear in the heat because it was very hot and humid. So we did that. And then we went home to our hotel, had some more food. We made sure that we had all our gear ready, checked, packed. And then it was time to try and get some sleep for our big adventure that was going to start the next day. First day, day one. They drove us to the start of the trail. We got to sign in, and we took one last group picture before we headed out into the unknown, and we started our hike. I don't think we even walked for like 20 minutes before we saw our first chameleon. He was just walking over the road or the trail, and he was so cool. And I just felt like, oh my God, I am in the jungle now. And I was for a couple hours, and it was raining, and we had lightning storms, so it was exciting. And every day when we got to camp, the whole team, like our porters and the people that were in charge of the kitchen and our tents and our toilets and all that, they were always ahead of us and they were all cheering for us and singing and dancing. So we were all just celebrating every day when we got to camp, which was amazing and such a big part of the experience. And I just love him for it. Our first day, we hiked for 16 kilometers and the elevation changed from 1,820 meters to 3,016 meters. And you walk really slow when you're up on high elevation just to be able to let your body rest and be able to cope with the elevation gain. And it does feel frustrating because it's ridiculous how slow it goes sometimes, like really slow. But you need it. You really need it to be able to continue gaining elevation. The next day, we continued our hike. We started early in the mornings. Normally, one of the porters would knock on our tents and ask us if we wanted coffee or tea, and they would bring us our mug and we would drink it while we packed up our stuff. Then we went into our tent because we had like a living room slash living room tent, and we would have breakfast. And normally it was a big breakfast, like beans, porridge, toast, omelette, fruit, like a lot of stuff. And those the guys that were in charge of the kitchen, they were so hilarious and I love them, but they really tried to feed us because when you're up high you need a lot of energy, so you need a lot of food, and normally no way I eat that much. Like they really stuffed us full with food, but we needed it, so thank you. We hiked up further up. The forest was gone, so now we had like cliffs, we had more like a bushy vegetation.
Så, nu ser jag. Eller?
Ganska stor del av dagen kommer det vara sån här terräng. Det kommer ju vara många bärare som ska förbi.
Day 2, we walked. Oh, this was only a 5-kilometer hike, so we gained from 3,016 meters to 3,841 meters, and then in between that we did a higher climb just to let the body get a taste of a higher elevation, and then you can go down to lower elevation and your body can regain energy and all that. That was day 2. Day 3, this was another one of those climb up, have dinner, stay here for an hour or two, and then climb down and make your body rest and readjust to whatever it needs to readjust to be able to continue. And this was actually like day 3 already. Some of the people in our group were starting to feel the elevation. Like we had one guy, he was younger than me and he was really fit. And on our way down from lunch to our campsite, he actually needed 2 guides on each side of him, just holding him up, because, and it was pretty scary to watch him because he was pretty out. Like, he was not feeling good. I know he was really nauseous and he felt sick and he was just so tired. And yeah, he needed help down to our camp. And then from then on, he actually struggled. And this was also coming down to our camp was the first time when we got to see those really cool trees. It looks like a prehistoric plant. If there was a plant amongst the dinosaurs, that would be the one. And this night was extra special because you could see just the lights from the world down below, and it was just such a special moment because you really felt like, wow, I am above all of this and I'm not even close to the top. And it was another cold night and an even colder morning because this is the morning that we were going to go up a wall called Barranco Wall, which means that you will be in the shade. Like, you will not see the sun until you're basically up the wall. And it's not a climbing wall, but you really have to use your whole body to get up. It's not technical, but it's a lot of work. And it's really cold because there is no sun. So it's a pretty cold start of the day. And then the rest of the day, you do a lot of ups and down, like an M pattern. Just once again, go up high, go back down, let your body adjust. We were walking on a beautiful day. Sun was shining, it was not windy, it was warm, and we were walking above the clouds. So we could see that we had, like, the entire world was below us. And you could see that other peak right on the other side, and you knew that tomorrow we're gonna start our hike up to the top, of Africa. And I don't know, I think that was the first moment, like, aha moment that I had, because we were sitting, we had a break, and I was just sitting and I was just watching everything and just thinking that, wow. We got to our camp for the night, and we were just hanging out by our camp, playing cards. We had dinner. We were just sitting in the sun watching the world, and we just felt really good. Some of us were feeling the elevation. There were like 3 of us that felt tired, nauseous. They felt sick, like they wanted to throw up, or you didn't have any, or they didn't have any hunger. And I was starting to feel that I wasn't as hungry as normally, but I still ate a lot. They still tried to feed me a lot, and I ate. And I think that's super important, that you actually eat even if you don't want to. On day 4, we hiked 8 kilometers and we changed elevation from 3,965 meters to 4,043 meters. And that was our last normal day, because the day after, it all got a bit more serious. We're on day 5. We walked 4 kilometers, and we changed the elevation from 4,043 meters to 4,641 meters. And that doesn't sound a lot. Like 4 kilometers is not a lot. But I remember this morning because it was only 4 kilometers, but most of it was, well, of course it was an uphill, but it was pretty tough. And it was a short day because we wanted to arrive at base camp early so we can have an early dinner, try and get some sleep if possible. I did not get any sleep. I was too nervous and excited. And I remember when everyone else got in their tents, I went on a little stroll and I went to a cliff right above the tents, and it was pretty misty, or you had the clouds rolling in over our camp. And I remember just standing there looking over the camp and just thinking that, holy shit. I am gonna be on top of Africa tomorrow. Like, it was just unreal. So no, I did not get any sleep that evening. They woke us up, or they knocked on our tents around 10 maybe in the evening, and we packed up our stuff. We went into our living room tent, kitchen tent, and we had like blueberry soup and porridge, a lot of it. Some of us really had to force it down because they were not feeling good. And we had our water bottles and our thermoses filled with boiling water, because we needed to have boiling water if it would have some chance of making it to the top without freezing. It still froze, but you could still drink it. And yeah, we put on our backpack and we put on our headlamp, and off we went. We were heading to the top of Africa, which was so surreal. And every day, well, twice a day actually, our guides measured our, I guess it was the oxygen in our blood or something. They put that little thing on your finger and measured something. And they kept a journal. They didn't tell us because they didn't want us to feel pressured of our results. But they did offer people that were feeling worse, they offered some kind of medication of some sort, which would help with their symptoms. But everyone in our group started the hike towards the top. I think along the way, 2 of them had to turn back because of how they felt. But the rest of us made it to the top. They decided that the people that was feeling the weakest, that didn't feel that good, were gonna be the first ones, and the persons that had the best results or felt the best would be at the back. So me and my roommate or tent mate, we were the last couple. And at first I felt really good. Like, I still felt like it affected me, the elevation. Like, you do get tired so easily. Like, I remember on our way to the base camp, I had to go to the toilet to go pee pee. So I just, I saw a rock and I onwards to the rock because I was excited because base camp was right over there, and I was on my way to the top, so I just ran over to the big rock, and I pee-peed, and then on my way back I just felt like, oh god, I have no energy left. I just drained myself of pee and energy because that's how fast it goes. And the last few nights before heading to the top, when you went out of your tent just to go like not far, you were just so out of breath, and you were like, oh my god, this is so hard. I have to do this. Come on, you can do it. Like it feels silly because you keep thinking that I'm just gonna walk over there and do what I have to do. It's not that hard, but it is pretty hard up there. So you do feel it does affect you even if you feel strong. On our way to the top from base camp, it was 5 kilometers. It took us 8 hours to walk 5 kilometers. So you can only imagine how slow we walked and how many switchbacks we did, because I think we might have walked for an hour, not even an hour, and I just hit a wall. Like basically, it just felt like I hit a wall. You couldn't breathe properly. You really had to fight to feel like you got some air into your lungs. And every time you had to turn that switchback, you really had to focus and like, okay, I have to turn. I'm gonna make a slow turn, and I'm gonna make sure that I breathe correctly while I do the turn. Like it all has to be synchronized, or I might faint, or I might puke, or I might poop myself. Like your whole body was just not functioning. And just knowing that you had to do that for 7 more hours, whew. And it was cold and it was dark. But I gotta say, our guides really tried their best to make us feel comfortable, and they made jokes, and and me and my tent mate, we did a lot of those. What would you rather? Would you rather lose a leg or blah 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 blah? And I know people in front of us were like, oh my god, can you just shut up? I'm so tired of hearing you feeling so positive. Like, I feel like shit. We were like, so do we. But, you gotta try your best. It was really one step at a time because I've never been so tired in my life. I've said a couple of times before that I felt like a zombie, but that is actually a time where I did feel and probably looked like a zombie. But when we got closer to the top and we started to see the next day, like when the sun is about to rise, I know our guides, they told us a lot of times that don't forget to look behind you. And when that sun started to rise and you looked behind you and you could just see like the horizons, and there was just a bright line. Like you couldn't see the sun, it was just a line of light. It was so cool. You're like, oh shit, that right there, that is the start of a new day. The day where I'm gonna be on the highest point of Africa. And it just gave everyone a whole nother level of energy, and we didn't race to the top. We got to the top. When you see that sign, because like first you come up and you can see that you're on the crater. You're on the side of the crater because Kilimanjaro is a volcano. And you can see where you have to go to be at that sign, because you see the sign and you keep thinking like, oh, that's not far. I'll be there in 10 minutes. It actually takes you an hour because you're not walking very fast. But getting to that sign is so hard. But once you get to that sign and you take your pictures, you have all the energy in the world. going back down again? I was like, okay, I'll run down. Which is the most annoying part. It took us 8 hours to walk up 5 kilometers. Going back down, it took us maybe 2 hours because it's all downhill and you don't have to do all the switchbacks because you can actually see where you're going, and a lot of the time it's like loose sand or gravel, so you kind of ski down, which was not a good solution to one of my Kilimanjaro colleagues because he broke his foot. I felt like a 5-year-old kid. I felt great. So we got back to our base camp. A colleague of mine had to be carried down because he broke his foot. We climbed 5 kilometers up to the peak, which meant that we went from 4,641 meters to 5,895 meters. And then back to base camp. We had lunch, we packed up our stuff, and then we continued our hike down to our next camp. So this was a long day, a really long day. And from our base camp down to our next camp, it was 12 kilometers down to 3,100 meters. And I gotta say, the hardest part about all this was the hike from base camp to our next camp, because when you got down to base camp and you had lunch, after lunch, most of your endorphins were gone, or at least they calmed down, and you were starting to feel like, oh shit, I'm pretty beat. The hottest part of the day, and you had to go 12 kilometers down to our next camp, and most of the trail was a dried out riverbed. So it was not even at all. It was really painful for your knees, like really painful. And I know, like the last kilometers to camp, I was pretty miserable. I just wanted to go to camp. But when we got to camp, we packed up our stuff and we got a foot bath. And then at dinner that evening, we had a cake. We actually had 2 cakes before that because it was people's birthdays, and somehow they managed to make a cake. Awesome. And we got to drink some wine. We were not technically allowed to have wine in the national park or forest, but they sneaked in some wine. So we had a lovely last dinner on the mountain. And the next day we walked down to the finish line. So the last day we walked 10 kilometers. We changed our elevation from 3,100 meters down to 1,830 meters. So we went back to the forest, back to the rainforest. We saw a lot of monkeys and pretty birds and pretty flowers. And when we got to the gate of the national park, we had our last lunch with the group, with all our porters and the staff and all those beautiful people that helped us with everything. And they had a very beautiful dance, and they sang for us, and it was like the perfect ending of this adventure, and I'm so thankful for them. And then we went back to our hotel and we took a shower. We had a pool party. We had some champagne by the pool, and we just felt really, really good about ourselves. And the next day was gonna be our last day, but we were gonna end it with style. We went on a safari. I got to see a giraffe. I got to see wild giraffes, and giraffes is one of my favorite animals amongst penguins and whales and horses and cows and pretty much every other species. And I got to see zebras and buffaloes and monkeys and pigs and monkeys and pretty much everything except elephants, but I'm okay with giraffes. It was just a really nice ending to this whole adventure. And I'm so grateful that I got to see animals that we normally just see in a zoo actually living its own life in the wild. Like, how can you not be happy about that? So we did the safari and then we were heading home. We all went home to Stockholm. We hugged each other goodbye and we tried to go back to normal life. Because the funny thing and the fucked up thing is that this trip was like 10 days all in all with flights, but it affected you so much because I think like 2 weeks after I got home, there is a fair, I think you call it. You have a lot of companies and people selling outdoorsy stuff and adventurous stuff. You have people giving not lectures, but they are telling you about their adventures, and it's really satisfying to be there, and it gives you a lot of inspiration. And that was 2 weeks after I got home from Kilimanjaro, and I heard all of these amazing people. Like, one guy had traveled all around Iceland on a longboard, and I got to see my guide, because the travel company that I traveled with, Expeditionsresor, had a monter at this place. And on the bus home, because I lived pretty close to that place, I had like a 20-minute bus ride home to my apartment. But on the way back home, I really, really had to fight myself because I just wanted to break down and cry, because I was like, oh my God, my adventure is over. I've climbed the highest peak in Africa and it's done. It's over. I've done it. Like, what am I going to do now? And it really, like, it hit me in a hard way. And I was not prepared for that at all. And not long after that, I decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. So, it worked out pretty good anyway. Do not be afraid of trying something that you've dreamt of a long time. Do not be afraid to do something that you might be afraid of doing, or afraid of not being able to finish, or not believing that you have what it takes to do it. Because before Kilimanjaro, I didn't have any experience. I was just doing it. So don't be afraid of trying new stuff. Don't be afraid to follow your dreams, and don't be afraid to succeed or afraid to fail, because no matter what, you tried, and that's all that matters. Because most people don't even try because they're scared or they're just too comfortable. And that is not how we achieve our dreams, is it? Thank you for coming along on my way to the top of Kilimanjaro. I hope you take care out there in this crazy world. And oh yeah, I have 3 weeks off in August, so we are hiking the King's Trail in August. And you are coming with me. So I will see you then, and I will see you before that. So I hope you have a great weekend, and take care and stay safe, and Love ya.